Affinity Designer's options for duplicating objects will not only save you time, but they also let you create some pretty cool effects. Today we'll look at several ways to duplicate objects and also the types of patterns you can create. So let's jump in. What's up guys, it's Trent, and today we can talk about how to duplicate objects in Affinity Designer. We'll look at quick grids and power duplicating. Now I'm using Affinity Designer 2.3 these days, which was just released a couple days ago, but I think most of these features have been supported for a couple of versions now. If you do notice something different in the UI, perhaps upgrading will solve the issue. So let's start with quick grids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the star tool here, and I'll draw a star, clicking and dragging. And what I can do is while I'm dragging here, I'm going to press the right arrow key. And you can see I added another star there. I'll press it again, and I can keep pressing it to add more. I can also press the down arrow key to add stars that way. So I can add rows. And of course, if I want to go back, I can press the left arrow key, or I can press up. And when I let go, I have 4 new objects here, and they're all in a nice grid. Let me delete these. Now, as I add my rows here and columns, what I can do is I can hold the right arrow key to add space in that direction. So I'm holding the right arrow key now, and you can see it's adding space. If I hold the left arrow key, it'll reduce the space. And I can do the same with the down arrow to add space that way. And the up arrow, by holding it, I can reduce the space. Once I have it where I want, I can also adjust it just by dragging it around this way. If you press shift, that will hold the aspect ratio there. It can be a little tricky pressing multiple buttons at once, but you get used to it. So quick grid is a nice way to create rows and columns of an object right when you create it. Just keep in mind that once you put them down, they become new objects. You lose the ability to manipulate the grid anymore, unless you do it manually or with the alignment tools up here. Okay, now let's look at something called power duplicate. So I have this heart shape here, and as you may know, if I hold Control and drag it, I will make a copy. I can drag it anywhere. If I hold shift, that constrains it to a straight line. So I'll let go, and that's our new shape. Now what I can do is I can press Control J, and it will repeat my last action, and I can keep doing that over and over again. But let me delete these. Let me go back to my original shape. Let's do things a little bit differently this time. Let's say this time I want to make a copy, but I also want to resize it, and I want to rotate it. Well, I can actually press Control J now, and it will repeat that same option. What it did is it dragged this to the side, it rotated it, and then it resized it. That's why it appeared over here. So this power duplicate function is remembering the options when you moved something. So I'll resize it again, and I can keep pressing Control J. Now power duplicate ends when you click off of it. So if I click off of this shape, Control J now doesn't do anything. If I go back here and I press Control J, well, now it's just actually copying right on top of it. So the power duplicate function works on the current thing you're selecting based on the last transform you did. By the way, you may have a problem where if you move something, and let's say you resize it, I'll keep doing it again. You can see here the line is still staying really thick. That's because scale with object is not checked. So let me do this another way. Let me do this down here. This time I'll click scale with object. So now if I move it and resize it, you can see the line is actually scaling with it. So that's just a little handy trick there. Depending on which of these options you want, you may want to have scale with object checked. So before I show you some of the more advanced power duplicate controls, I want to first talk about the concept of the origin point. This is going to help us understand rotations a little bit better going forward. So I have this arrow here, and when I click on it, I can rotate it. And you've probably done this before. You can see that's rotating. But by default, what it does is it rotates around the center point. Now you may want to rotate it around different points, and that's where the origin comes into play. Now by default it's not visible, but if you click this button up here with your object selected, enable transform origin, if I click on it, you see this little crosshair appears here in the middle. And if I rotate my arrow, it's rotating around that point there. But what I can do is I can drag this point out. And I can hold shift to keep it on a straight line. So now my point is down here outside of this object. Now watch what happens when I rotate it. You can see it's rotating around that point out there. I can put this point anywhere. Now it's rotating there. A common thing would be to put it on the top of my shape, so let's put it up here. You can see it snap to the middle there, so if I rotate, it's rotating around that point there. And if you want to reset it, you can click this point here and drag it back to the middle. You can see there's kind of a dot there in the middle. Kind of magnetically brings the origin there, so that can be used to reset it. So this concept is going to be useful in the next section as we rotate things in a more complicated way. Okay, now let's look at the more advanced concept of power duplicating, and Affinity calls that data entry. It's kind of a boring name, but it actually is a really cool concept. So with my object selected here, I'll hit enter, And I get this option here that says move duplicate. So what I can do is I can precisely move my object here. So I can adjust it horizontally. I can move it vertically. Now the horizontal and vertical work together. You can also move it by distance and angle. So let me reset this. So I put some degrees behind it here to clarify. So if I move it 1 inch, I can move it, say, 30 degrees. And you can see it's at the 30-degree point there. Or I can move it 90 degrees, or I can move it 180 degrees. So you can see I'm moving around this circle. And if I do horizontal and vertical, it'll convert that to degrees. So here I have about 29.6 degrees, which you can see is 30 degrees there. Rotation and scale are pretty much what you would expect, so I can rotate it here, and I can resize it. Now these are all precise controls if you just want to move something, but the real power of this tool obviously comes in the duplicate function. So I can click duplicate here. Now what I can do is I can make additional copies. So let's say I want to move this horizontally. I have 1 copy. I can make more than 1 copy. I can click and drag here. I can make 4 copies. And by the way, this is all live, so as I move it here, if it's out of scope, you can reposition it to get a better view. So I can change the angle here, which is the angle that they're going to go in. So this is the angle, not to be confused with rotation. So rotation is how each object is going to be rotated around its origin point. So I'll change the rotation here. You can see how they behave differently. Angle is this way. Rotation is this. And the effects are cumulative. So for example, if I do 4 of them with a scale of 90%, every additional one is going to be scaled 90% of the one before it. And if your shapes are overlapping, you can choose the order of overlap by this option here. So if I click this, it goes from front to back. Here it goes from back to front. Now probably one of the most common things you'll use this tool for is arranging objects around a circle. And that's where our transform origin point is going to come into play. So here I have this arrow. And what I can do is I can actually drag the origin point down. I'll put it somewhere down here in the bottom. So it's at this point here. So let's hit enter. Now we have our move duplicate function. And you can see that if I rotate, it kind of goes around in a circle. So probably that's going to be a clue to how we do this. And in fact, if I hit duplicate, that is how we're going to go about it. So it's rotation with this origin point set here. We can have the number of copies, so I want 12 of them. So I'll say 11 because we have our 1 original and then we'll have 11 extras. So I'll hit enter. Now what if I want them to be spaced evenly? Well, we have 12 arrows here, the 1 original and the 11 copies. So instead of rotating them 12 degrees, let me do 360 divided by 12. So 360 divided by 12 arrows. If I enter, you can see now they're spaced perfectly. By the way, that's a trick with all Affinity text fields. When they accept a number, you can easily just type in some math there. So let's say I want to do 24 arrows. Well, I could do, let's see, 23 here. And I could do 360 divided by 24. So this is my 24 arrows here. And as a reminder, you can resize these things as you're doing it. So the key for putting things around a circle is really to drag that origin point out to the middle here. And then for your rotation, take 360 and divide by the number of objects you have. And remember, you have number of copies, but also your original counts too. So here I have 11 plus 1, that's 12. And that's what gave me this arrangement here. There's all sorts of things you can do with this. You can create really cool line work here. So I'll move these lines a bit. I'll add maybe 10 copies. Reduce the angle. You can play with the spacing here. And as you do more copies, you get really interesting things going on. So I can adjust that back and forth here. You can get all sorts of cool effects here. Change the rotations. Now once I hit OK here, these become all new objects. So I lose that ability to actually edit it anymore. So these are all separate curves. So if I wanted to change these, I'd have to select them all separately, or I could select all of them like this and change the color, but I wouldn't really be able to change their shape or anything easily. Now you can use symbols to actually change some properties of the objects once you've committed them like that. So let's look at that method. If you don't see symbols over here on your studio, what you can do is you can go to Window, Symbols, and now you have the symbol option here. So I'm going to create a star symbol. And it's just pretty simple, nothing too complicated. And what I'll do now is I'll click Create Symbol here. So now my star is a symbol. So the way symbols work is if I created another star, if I went and edited my first star, it would change all of them. If I change the color, they'd all change. So let me undo that. So I'll keep my 1 star here and let's put it around a circle. We'll do our trick here. I'll hit enter. Let's make 11 copies again. 360 divided by 12. I'll resize it a bit. By the way, if I move this origin point, that is one way of spacing them out more. And I'll click OK. So now you can see as I have all these symbols in my layers menu. And what I can do is that if I change one, they'll all change. So let's change the color here. So I made that one red. I can add some effects to it. Maybe I'll add a drop shadow. You can see they all have the shadows. Maybe I'll even make it a gradient in the fill. So you can see using symbols is one way to still have some control over the objects after you've placed them with the data entry tool. But once you've placed them, it doesn't really have any concept of this being a circle anymore or anything like that. You can't really edit that option. So that's how quick grids and power duplicating work. They're really powerful features for arranging things in a precise way. If you have any questions about this feature, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.